Welcome to the Center on Community Living and Careers Learning Academy's webinar on Second Chance Employment. During today's webinar, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of second chance employment. We'll start by breaking down what this approach actually means and the groups of people it's designed to support. From there, we'll spend some time talking about the real barriers that individuals with justice involvement or a history of substance use often encounter when trying to enter or re-enter the workforce. Understanding those challenges helps us see why alternative hiring strategies matter. We'll also explore the advantages for employers who adopt second chance practices, everything from strengthening their talent pipeline to improving retention and workplace culture. Then, we'll look at practical adjustments organizations can make to their hiring process that open doors without compromising standards. And finally, we'll discuss what it takes to build a workplace that's not only inclusive, but truly supportive, so employees have the tools they need to succeed long term. By the end of our time together, you'll have a clearer picture of how second chance employment works and how these approaches can benefit both people and organizations. Let's start by framing the conversation and defining second chance employment, as well as why it matters to employers. When we talk about second chance employment, we're really talking about a hiring approach that gives people a fair shot at work, even if they've faced barriers in the past. Instead of automatically rejecting someone because they've been involved with the justice system or have a history of substance use, this model encourages employers to look at the person's current skills, their readiness to work, and their potential to contribute. You may hear a few different terms used: second chance hiring, fair chance hiring. They all point to the same idea: evaluating candidates based on who they are today, not solely on what's happened in their past. At its core, second chance employment is about expanding access to opportunity, strengthening the workforce, and recognizing that many individuals are actively rebuilding their lives and are eager to succeed when given the chance. Like many employers, you might be feeling the squeeze: open roles, fewer applicants, and rising turnover rates. One practical way to relieve that pressure is to widen the funnel. When we consider qualified candidates who've been justice involved or who are in recovery, we can expand our talent pool overnight and reach people who are motivated to work. But this isn't about lowering the bar. It's about clarifying it. Roles are designed around the skills and tasks that truly matter. Can the person safely operate the equipment, meet production targets, or deliver great customer service? When we hire for ability and train for the rest, performance improves. Inclusive practices don't just help a few hires, they raise the floor for everyone. Think clear job expectations, structured onboarding, consistent coaching, and fair advancement pathways. Those systems reduce bias, build trust, and increase retention across the whole workforce. And there's a smart financial upside. Employers may qualify for federal incentives and access bonding programs that reduce risk and support on-the-job success. The bottom line: broaden the candidate pool, focus on real qualifications, strengthen the culture, and leverage available incentives. That's how we solve staffing challenges and build a stronger team. Understanding involvement in the justice system. When we look at the data, it's clear how widespread justice involvement is in the United States. Roughly 1 out of every 3 adults has some type of criminal record. That's nearly 77 million people, about the size of some countries. And this isn't a small or isolated issue. Since 1980, the number of people incarcerated in the U.S. has grown 5-fold, creating one of the largest correctional populations in the world. Every year, more than 600,000 individuals return home from prisons and re-enter their communities. That's hundreds of thousands of people stepping back into everyday life, looking for housing, reconnecting with family, and trying to secure stable employment. These numbers remind us that this isn't a niche topic. It's a major workforce factor, a community issue, and an opportunity for employers to tap into a large, motivated pool of talent. When we examine who's represented in the U.S. prison system, the disparities are impossible to ignore. Black individuals account for 32% of those in prison, Hispanics also make up a significant portion, representing about a quarter of the population. Native Americans are incarcerated at a rate 4 times higher than whites. Age is another important factor. The vast majority of people in prison, around 65%, were under the age of 45, meaning most individuals are spending key working years incarcerated rather than building careers. Educational opportunity is also limited. Fewer than 5% of people returning from incarceration hold a college degree, which creates additional barriers when they re-enter the job market. These disproportionate impacts fall heavily on marginalized communities, including Black, Native American, and Latinx individuals. For example, Black men experience incarceration rates nearly 6 times higher than white men. Among women, Native American women are incarcerated at the highest rate in the country. It's important to understand that these differences aren't explained by higher rates of criminal behavior. Research shows that they stem from systemic inequalities, such as unequal access to legal representation, differences in sentencing, and broader social and economic disparities. All of these factors shape who is most affected by the criminal legal system and why fair, inclusive employment practices matter. Another piece of this conversation is the connection between disability and incarceration. Disability, particularly cognitive or mental health related conditions, is deeply intertwined with who ends up in our jails and prisons. People with disabilities are significantly overrepresented in these settings. In fact, close to 40% of individuals in U.S. prisons report having a disability. And when we look more closely, we see that a portion of these disabilities fall into the cognitive category. Conditions that affect thinking skills like problem solving, memory, attention, or reading comprehension. This may also include autism, Down syndrome, and learning disorders. It's important to note that a cognitive disability is different from a mental health disorder, although many people experience both. One of the most striking statistics relates to traumatic brain injury, also known as a TBI. Researchers estimate that roughly 60% of people who are incarcerated have sustained at least one TBI before their conviction. A brain injury can make it harder to anticipate consequences or navigate stressful situations, factors that may contribute to involvement with the legal system. People with a TBI are about 2.5 times more likely to end up incarcerated. These challenges don't end once someone enters the system. Prisons and jails often lack the accommodations individuals need to function, learn, or participate in rehabilitative programs effectively. That means that the very support that could help someone succeed in the community is frequently missing. And this pattern extends beyond the incarceration itself. Around 23% of people on probation or parole also report having a disability, which means that barriers continue as individuals move through different stages of the justice process. All of this underscores how disability, particularly cognitive and neurological disability, is a major, but yet often overlooked, factor in incarceration, and why supportive, inclusive employment pathways matter so much more during reentry. Education is often a turning point for people preparing to re-enter the workforce, but access to education looks very different inside a correctional facility. While incarcerated, most individuals cannot use federal financial aid programs like student loans or work study to support their learning. There are opportunities such as programs under the Prison Education Program, which allow eligible students to receive Pell Grants. But these options are tightly regulated. Many degree paths simply aren't available inside prison walls. State level support varies as well, and in many cases, assistance doesn't open up until after a person's release. Beyond funding, incarceration disrupts the everyday social and professional experiences that most of us rely on to build careers. Networking, internships, campus involvement, these are opportunities that help people grow academically and professionally, and they're largely inaccessible during incarceration. So, it's important for employers to understand that education absolutely can happen while someone is incarcerated, but it may look different from the pathways typical applicants may follow. Some individuals participate in specialized education programs, earn certificates, or develop skills through vocational training, but the limitations of the environment and the absence of traditional networking opportunities means their educational resumes may not mirror those of other candidates. When we talk about the scale of the criminal legal system, we often hear about the more than 2 million people currently incarcerated and the roughly 600,000 individuals who return to their communities each year. But those big numbers can sometimes mask an important reality. Most people who have a conviction only have one in their lifetime. And when someone does have a first conviction, the likelihood that they'll get another drops significantly over time. In fact, research shows that about 3/4 of people with a first conviction do not go on to receive a second one within 10 years. The longer someone goes without an incident, the less likely they are to reoffend. Stability, employment, and time all work in their favor. It's also important to remember that anyone, regardless of age, background, or work history, can acquire a criminal record. Young people, in particular, face a meaningful risk of receiving a charge based on a single mistake or a moment of poor judgment. But a record doesn't have to define who someone is or what they're capable of contributing. So when employers encounter candidates with justice involvement, the presence of a conviction doesn't necessarily indicate ongoing risk. For many people, it reflects one event in their past, not a pattern of behavior, and certainly not their potential moving forward. Before we dive deeper into today's content, let's take a moment to discuss and define addiction and recovery. First, let's define substance use disorder, or SUD. SUD is a medical condition, a treatable mental disorder that changes how a person's brain functions and affects their behavior. Because of these changes, individuals may struggle to control their use of alcohol, prescription medication, or illicit drugs without support or intervention. For this webinar, we'll be looking at addiction in several forms: the misuse of illegal substances, the misuse of prescription medications, and alcohol use disorder. All of these fall under the broader umbrella of substance use disorder. It's important to understand that SUD isn't a moral failing or lack of willpower. It's a health condition, and like many other health conditions, people can and do recover. With the right treatment, stability, and support, long-term recovery is absolutely possible. By framing SUD accurately as a medical issue that is both treatable and survivable, we can better understand the experiences of individuals in recovery and the value they bring to the workplace. When we look at nationwide data from 2023, it becomes clear just how common substance abuse really is. More than 145 million Americans, about 42% of the entire population, reported that at some point in their lives they had misused prescription medication or used illicit drugs. That's nearly half of the country with some level of experimentation or exposure. Out of that group, roughly 47.7 million people said that they were currently struggling with addiction. That represents close to 14% of the U.S. population actively navigating a substance use disorder. These numbers remind us of something important. Both groups, those who have experimented and those who are in active addiction, can face legal consequences. And because substance use touches such a large portion of the population, the possibility of obtaining a criminal record related to those behaviors is far more common than you might assume. The takeaway is simple. Substance abuse is widespread, recovery is possible, and involvement with the justice system can happen to people across every community. Now, let's look at the other side of substance use disorder: alcohol. In 2023, more than 134 million Americans aged 12 and older reported drinking alcohol. That means close to 40% of the population consumed alcohol at some time in 2023. Within that group, about 28.9 million people met the criteria for an alcohol use disorder. That represents just over 8% of the population actively struggling with alcohol addiction. So, just like with drug use, alcohol use and alcohol misuse are incredibly common. And it's important to remember, even if alcohol is legal, using it at the wrong time or in the wrong situation can still result in a criminal charge. DUIs, public intoxication, and other alcohol-related offenses contribute significantly to criminal records across the country. The key takeaway is that substance use, whether through drugs or alcohol, is widespread, and many people who encounter the justice system do so inadvertently because of the casual behaviors that might seem socially acceptable. When we talk about recovery from substance use disorder, it's important to highlight that treatment does work. There are multiple evidence-based approaches that help individuals regain stability and maintain long-term recovery. Treatment isn't one size fits all. Many people begin with outpatient counseling, which can include several sessions, group therapy, or even family-based support. These approaches help people build coping skills, strengthen relationships, and understand the underlying factors contributing to their substance use. For others, inpatient rehabilitation provides a structured environment with round-the-clock support, which can be essential for people needing a higher level of care. There's also behavioral health treatment, which addresses both substance use and any co-occurring mental health conditions. Since SUD so often intersects with anxiety, depression, or trauma, integrated care can make a tremendous difference. Another key tool is medication-assisted treatment, often referred to as MAT. These medications can help reduce cravings, stabilize brain chemistry, and make recovery more manageable. And beyond clinical treatment, many individuals benefit from wraparound services. Supports like case management, housing resources, employment assistance, and peer recovery coaching. These services address the real-life barriers that can make or break someone's ability to fully engage in recovery. A recent study from 2024 gives us a powerful reminder about the reality and the possibility of recovery. In that study, about 31 million people said they had experienced a problem with drugs or alcohol at some point in their lives. What's remarkable is what came next. Out of that group, roughly 23 million reported that they were now in recovery. That means more than 74%, nearly 3 out of 4 individuals, had found their way back to stability, health, and long-term recovery. These numbers aren't just statistics. They speak to something essential. Recovery is not only possible, it's common. With access to effective treatment, supportive environments, and resources that help people rebuild their lives, millions of individuals move forward every year. It's an important reminder for employers, communities, and all of us. People do recover, and they bring strength, resilience, and lived experience into the workforce. One of the most important factors in supporting long-term recovery from substance use disorder is access to steady, meaningful work. Employment does far more than provide a paycheck. Research consistently shows it plays a major role in helping people maintain recovery and rebuild their lives. A stable job offers structure and routine, which can be incredibly grounding during recovery. It provides financial stability, giving people the resources they need for housing, transportation, healthcare, and other essentials that support wellness. Work also restores a sense of purpose and identity, helping individuals reconnect with who they are and what they're capable of. And just as importantly, employment creates social connections, relationships with coworkers, mentors, and supervisors that reinforce belonging and accountability. These elements together create an environment where recovery is not only possible, but sustainable. As we shift into the next part of our webinar, we're going to take a closer look at the challenges people face when they return to the community and begin looking for work. Re-entry isn't just about leaving a facility. It's about navigating a whole series of barriers that can make rebuilding a stable life incredibly difficult. There are several areas where people commonly experience obstacles. These include discrimination during the hiring process, limited access to safe and stable housing, and significant financial barriers that can begin accruing even while someone's incarcerated. Many individuals also face educational gaps, since their learning opportunities may have been interrupted or limited. Basic needs can also be hard to meet. Food insecurity and lack of reliable transportation create real challenges for attending interviews, holding a steady job, or meeting supervision requirements. And on top of that, the digital divide, limited access to technology devices or digital literacy, can make job applications, online onboarding, and even basic communication difficult. In the next few slides, we'll break down each of these barriers in more detail, explore how they affect someone's ability to successfully re-enter the workforce, and discuss what employers can do to reduce these obstacles. When people return from incarceration, one of the first challenges they face is housing. Many individuals leave with little savings. Their criminal record can immediately disqualify them from private rentals, public housing programs, and even basic supports like TANF, where several states still have restrictions tied to drug-related convictions. At the same time, we're in a national housing crisis, which means fewer affordable units and more competition for every available space. For someone with a record, that challenge is multiplied. They are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness, and they face a long list of collateral consequences that block access to everything from rental applications to housing vouchers. Even though the Fair Housing Act protects against discrimination on many grounds, most housing systems still allow broad criminal record exclusions. And without stable housing, everything else becomes harder: keeping a job, getting to appointments, and even staying compliant with supervision requirements. Financial barriers show up in lending as well. When individuals with a criminal history apply for a loan, background checks can overshadow their entire financial picture. A single conviction can outweigh steady employment, credit improvement, or business viability. Many background checks pull an arrest without convictions or outdated or inaccurate information, creating an unfair impression of risk. And because some lenders treat all convictions the same, even a minor, unrelated offense can be weighed as heavily as a financial crime, leading to automatic denials. Together, housing barriers and lending barriers create a cycle that makes rebuilding extremely difficult. Without a stable place to live and fair access to capital, re-entry becomes an uphill climb for many individuals trying to move forward. Another major barrier people face after incarceration is food insecurity. Studies consistently show that individuals returning from jail or prison are far more likely to struggle with getting enough to eat. One study found that over 90% of people experience food insecurity immediately upon release, highlighting just how urgent this issue is. This challenge isn't just about income, it's also driven by policy. Under the federal welfare reform law known as PRWORA, states were given the option to ban individuals with felony drug convictions from receiving SNAP benefits. While some states have fully opted out of this rule, only 25 states and Washington, D.C. have eliminated the ban entirely. Many others still enforce partial restrictions. In states with modified bans, individuals may have to prove compliance with probation or parole, complete drug testing, or show participation in treatment programs just to access basic food assistance. These added hoops can be difficult to navigate during reentry, a time when people are already juggling housing searches, employment requirements, and supervision obligations. Without reliable access to food, everything else becomes harder: finding work, maintaining health, and staying focused on rebuilding life. Food insecurity may not be the first barrier people think of during reentry, but for many returning citizens, it's one of the most immediate and destabilizing challenges they face. Many individuals leave incarceration to discover their license was suspended or revoked due to unpaid fines, court fees, or previous infractions, and this doesn't automatically resolve once their sentence ends. Reinstatement requires a separate, often complicated, process. A significant number also lack the required identification documents, such as a state ID, birth certificate, or proof of residency. These are essential before they can even begin the reinstatement process. This documentation gap can delay their ability to drive legally for weeks or months. Financial barriers add another layer. People returning from incarceration can often carry outstanding fines, reinstatement fees, and penalties, making the cost of regaining a license overwhelming at a time when they're just trying to stabilize their lives. On top of that, many states require individuals to complete additional legal or administrative steps, like probation conditions, treatment programs, or specialized courses, before reinstatement is even considered. These obligations can be difficult to navigate without support. During incarceration, most people have little to no access to modern technology or the internet because many facilities restrict or fully deny digital access for security reasons. This means individuals may go years, even decades, without using smartphones, email, online forms, or job application systems. When they re-enter society, they often feel overwhelmed by everyday digital tasks. Research shows that many returning citizens struggle with basic digital functions like navigating touchscreens, using online job portals, or accessing digital healthcare systems. A 2024 study found that formerly incarcerated individuals face significant digital skill gaps that limit their ability to find employment, even when they're eager to learn. The study also showed a strong correlation between learning IT skills and improved employment prospects after release. This digital divide doesn't just make daily life harder, It increases the risk of unemployment and recidivism. Without digital literacy, tasks like applying for jobs or completing online onboarding become major barriers to stability. For older adults, the gap is even wider. A study found that older individuals leaving prison describe themselves as strangers in a foreign world, struggling to function in a society where digital literacy is required for nearly every basic task, from transportation to healthcare. Now, let's discuss why second chance hiring makes sense for employers like you. As we look at the current labor landscape, it's clear that employers across industries are facing significant workforce challenges. We're operating in a period of historically low unemployment, which means there are simply fewer job seekers available for open roles. At the same time, the workforce is aging. Many experienced workers are retiring faster than new workers are entering the pipeline. This leaves companies struggling to fill critical positions and retain institutional knowledge. On top of that, organizations are experiencing high turnover rates, which create ongoing disruptions in productivity and team stability. Every time an employee leaves, employers face the added burden of recruiting, interviewing, and onboarding someone new. And those onboarding and training costs add up quickly, especially when employees don't stay long enough for companies to see a return on that investment. Together, these factors create a tight labor market where employers must think creatively about how to attract and retain reliable talent. Addressing these workforce challenges requires expanding hiring strategies, reducing unnecessary barriers, and considering new pools of qualified candidates. Inside federal prisons, work assignments help people build real, transferable skills in industries that are hiring right now. For example, nearly 28% gain experience in janitorial services and 14% work in food preparation. Others develop skills in areas like maintenance, construction, library services, stockroom operations, and goods production. These are the same sectors struggling to find workers today. What's important for you to know is that this isn't just theoretical. National data shows that over 60% of formerly incarcerated individuals were employed within 30 days of their arrest, most commonly in administrative support, waste management, food services, construction, manufacturing, and retail, industries currently facing almost 1.9 million unfilled jobs. And the outcomes are strong. According to SHRM, 85% of all HR leaders report that second chance employees perform the same or better than other workers. That means that this talent pool isn't just willing, it's highly capable. The results speak for themselves. Second chance hiring is happening across the country. It's working, and it represents a powerful opportunity for organizations seeking reliable, motivated, and skilled employees. Along with accessing a motivated and skilled talent pool, employers can also take advantage of several federal programs designed to reduce risk and offset hiring costs. First, employers can recoup wages through the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC. This federal tax credit applies when hiring individuals from certain targeted groups, including people with felony convictions. Employers may receive up to $2,400 per eligible hire, based on 40% of the first $6,000 in wages. To qualify, the employee must be in their first year of employment, work at least 120 to 400 hours, and be certified as part of a targeted group. HR simply completes a form with the applicant and submits it within 28 days of the start date. Second, employers can reduce hiring risks through the federal bonding program. This program provides free fidelity bonds ranging from $5,000 to $25,000 for the first 6 months of employment. These bonds protect employers from losses due to the employee's dishonesty, and they cost nothing to employees or employers. Bonds can be issued for full-time, part-time, or temporary positions, and they're often a key tool to support individuals returning from incarceration. Finally, employers can partner with organizations funded through growth opportunity grants. These grants support justice-involved youth and young adults by providing paid work experiences, job training in high-demand industries, leadership development, and assistance transitioning into long-term employment or education. Partnering with these programs helps employers access young talent while advancing equity and community stability. Together, these tools, tax credits, bonding, and grant-funded partnerships, make second chance hiring easier, safer, and financially beneficial for employers. Employers work hard to retain experienced employees, not only because of the value that they bring, but also because hiring and training new staff is expensive. When an otherwise valuable employee experiences temporary issues that lead to serious policy violations, such as a run-in with the law or a relapse, one option employers can consider is a last chance agreement. A last chance agreement is a formal document created by the business that outlines specific conditions an employee must meet in order to keep their job. While employers are not required under the ADA to offer these agreements, they are commonly used when employees with drug or alcohol addiction relapse, and the resulting behavior causes workplace problems. These agreements typically include several key components. First is a summary of the basis for the agreement, including the performance or conduct violations and the policies breached. Second, it lays out clear expectations for continued employment, such as completing a substance abuse treatment program, providing progress updates, and participating in periodic drug or alcohol testing. Employers normally cannot dictate medical treatment under the ADA, but last chance agreements are an exception because the employer is voluntarily withholding termination. The agreement also establishes timeframes for meeting each condition. For example, entering treatment as soon as a facility can admit the employee, providing status updates halfway through, and completing regular testing for the first 6 months. It must also clearly specify the consequences of noncompliance, which typically include immediate termination unless there's a valid, documented reason beyond the employee's control. Finally, each agreement has an expiration date, often 6 months to a year, after which the employee is returned to standard employment status if they have complied fully. Both the employer and the employee must sign and date the agreement for it to be valid. Overall, a last chance agreement gives employees an opportunity to retain their job while providing employers structured protections when addressing serious policy-related issues tied to addiction. You don't have to navigate second chance hiring alone. There are strong, proven support systems designed specifically for businesses. State programs like Hire Indiana offer direct employer assistance through job-ready candidate pipelines, training, and onboarding guidance. Private organizations such as Rise Nebraska provide employers with structured toolkits, coaching, and research to help build effective second chance practices. National efforts like the Second Chance Business Coalition give companies access to best practice guidebooks, case studies, and peer learning forums. The Jails to Job Employer Network connects businesses with the employer-to-employer insights, showcasing real models that work. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce Second Chance Initiative offers extensive research, playbooks, and policy guidance to help employers confidently hire and retain justice-impacted talent. And Pathway Home, too, along with CFCC and Link, host a bi-monthly coffee hour just for employers who have or are interested in building a second chance initiative in their workplace. Together, these supports give employers the training, resources, and community they need to build successful second chance hiring programs. Second chance hiring isn't just a social good, it makes strong business sense. Companies that tap into this talent pool consistently see reduced turnover, stronger employee loyalty, and higher resilience across teams. It also enhances brand reputation and builds trust with the communities we serve. The scale of this opportunity is significant. The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world, with nearly 1.25 million people currently in prison and another 3.7 million on probation or parole. Without access to stable employment, many are at high risk of returning to the system. This matters for workforce development. Most individuals in prison are working-aged men, a group whose labor force participation has been declining for years. The unemployment rate for people with criminal records, however, hovers around 30%, double the peak unemployment rate during the pandemic. Yet, the desire to work is strong. 93% of formerly incarcerated individuals aged 25 to 44 are working or actively seeking work, compared to an 84% participation rate in the general population of the same age range. It's also important to understand that incarceration is only part of the picture. 25% of convictions never lead to prison, meaning an even larger group of Americans carry records that significantly restrict employment opportunities. This is a massive, but often overlooked, talent pool. And the impact of employment is profound. Stable jobs dramatically reduce recidivism. Individuals who gain skills and work experience while incarcerated are 24% less likely to return to prison. Those who maintain employment for 1 year after release see recidivism drop from 52% to just 16%. That's a dramatic improvement that benefits public safety and community well-being. Employees notice these efforts too. In one survey, 66% of workers said they feel proud to work for companies that offer opportunities to individuals with criminal records. Organizations that embrace second chance hiring are seeing stronger engagement, better retention, and higher overall performance. In short, second chance hiring strengthens companies, stabilizes communities, and expands the workforce at a time when labor shortages are affecting every sector. It's not just about the right thing to do, it's a strategic investment with measurable returns.
Now, let's put it all together by building an inclusive workplace. When building a strong second chance employment program, transparency and support are essential. Start by clearly explaining your background check process, what you review, why it matters, and how the information will be used. Give candidates the opportunity to respond or to clarify anything that appears on their background check. Once they're hired, make sure to celebrate milestones and recognize achievements. This instills confidence and reinforces a culture of growth. Create an environment where openness and communication are the norm, so employees feel safe asking questions or seeking help. And finally, encourage your staff to learn about your Second Chance initiative. When everyone understands the mission, it strengthens teamwork, reduces stigma, and helps Second Chance employees thrive. When welcoming any new hire into the organization, including Second Chance employees, the first priority must always be workplace safety. That begins with providing comprehensive training from day one. Every employee should clearly understand the safety procedures, ethical conduct expectations, and all relevant company policies. This not only builds confidence, but ensures that everyone starts with the same foundation of knowledge. Another key strategy is establishing a mentorship program. Pairing new employees with experienced team members provides ongoing support, helps reinforce safety protocols, and creates a trusted point of contact as they settle into their role. Mentorship also allows you to monitor adherence to safety standards in a supportive, non-punitive way. Finally, safety isn't a one-and-done effort. HR and leadership should regularly review and update safety policies to reflect current best practices and legal requirements. This ensures the workplace is fair, consistent, and secure for everyone. By combining structured training, mentorship, and continuous policy improvement, you can create a culture where safety is shared, supported, and strengthened across the entire organization. When we talk about building a fair and inclusive hiring process, especially for second chance candidates, reducing stigma is one of the most important steps an employer can take. A good place to start is by using a holistic review process, one that looks at the whole person rather than defining them by a single point in their history. This means evaluating skills, experience, growth, and readiness for the role. Next, ensure your application aligns directly with the job description. This is also where the ban the box principles come in. Ask yourself, is there a true requirement for self-reporting in this role? If the answer is yes, be explicit about what needs to be reported, how far back you look, and why the information is necessary. Clarity reduces fear and prevents unnecessary screening out. Another best practice is to create a secondary review process. When an application or background check raises a concern, don't make automatic decisions. Instead, use individualized assessments to understand context, rehabilitation, and relevance to the job. Finally, rely on structured interviews. They help ensure consistency, reduce bias, and allow candidates to demonstrate their rehabilitation, current behavior, and readiness for the position. By taking these steps, we create a hiring process that's fair, consistent, and welcoming, one that opens the door to strong talent rather than closing it prematurely. One of the most powerful ways to reduce stigma in the workplace is through the language that we choose. Adopting person-first language helps shift the focus from someone's past to their humanity and potential. Instead of saying a criminal, we use phrases like a person with a criminal record. We should also remove dehumanizing terms such as convict, felon, or offender from our forms, policies, and everyday conversations. These labels can create barriers and reinforce outdated stereotypes. As HR leaders, we set the tone, so it's important to model inclusive language consistently when interacting with colleagues and candidates. Finally, encourage the use of strength-based phrases that focus on growth and reintegration, such as returning citizen or individual reentering the workforce. These simple shifts in language can help foster dignity, reduce bias, and create a workplace culture where second chance employees can thrive. Reducing stigma in the workplace isn't just about the words we use, it's also about the actions we take to support employees. One way to do this is by offering reasonable accommodations for treatment and wellness, such as flexibility for counseling, recovery appointments, or wellness check ins. These practices signal that you value employees' health and stability. It's also important to ensure supervisors are trained in trauma informed practices, helping them respond with empathy, consistency, and awareness of how past experiences can shape behavior and communication. Another powerful tool is fostering peer support and community connection within the workplace. Encouraging mentorship programs, support circles, or team building opportunities creates a sense of belonging for employees who may be navigating reentry challenges. Finally, consider offering value added supports like financial management workshops or personal care classes that benefit all employees, not just second chance hires. When everyone has access to these resources, it reduces stigma, normalizes support, and strengthens your overall workforce culture. When we talk about reducing stigma in second chance employment, one of the most meaningful steps that we can take is offering thoughtful, individualized accommodations. These accommodations aren't just checkboxes, they communicate that we see employees as whole people with real lives, real responsibilities, and real potential. Providing flexibility, whether through scheduling, onboarding, or alternating training formats, helps employees manage challenges without fear of judgment. It normalizes support rather than singling anyone out. Many of these adjustments, like clear communication channels, open door policies, supportive workplaces, and access to wellness or employee assistance programs, benefit everyone, not just second chance hires. When employees feel supported, they are more engaged, more loyal, and more committed to their own success and the success of the organization. By building a workplace where accommodations are understood as tools for empowerment, we create a culture that reduces stigma, encourages growth, and helps every employee bring their best to the job. In addition to accommodations, many employees would benefit from such things as an open door policy, employer backed activities like recreation or sports, opportunities to ride share, food assistance, employee assistance programs, and digital training sessions. These are just a few options, but the possibilities are endless. Now that we have the pieces, let's see how other companies have put them together successfully. Kelly, a professional staffing organization, launched the Kelly 33 initiative in 2021 to expand employment opportunities for the 1 in 3 U.S. adults who have a criminal record. As part of Kelly's broader Equity at Work mission, the program focuses on reorganizing overlooked talent and opening doors for individuals ready to work. The first major pilot took place at Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Georgetown, Kentucky. Kelly screened 1,200 candidates with criminal records and found that 92% qualified for available positions. The results were remarkable. Toyota's talent pool grew by 20%, diversity increased by 8%, and turnover dropped by 70% to only 3% in a month, with no terminations tied to prior records. Since then, more than 24 companies across industries like automotive, logistics, pharma, and industrial equipment have adopted similar hiring practices. Today, over 1,000 second chance workers are on assignment, and employers using this model experience 25% higher fill rates and significantly lower turnover. Kelly 33 shows that when given a fair chance, people thrive, and so do the companies that hire them. Union Pacific partnered with the Manufacturing Institute in 2021 to launch a second chance hiring initiative designed to open doors for job seekers with criminal records. By reassessing their hiring policies and working closely with Envoy Advisory and community reentry organizations in Houston, they built a more inclusive and supportive hiring process. Within the first 3 months, nearly 100 candidates were referred through these partnerships, and by March 2022, the first second chance hires officially joined the company. The program strengthened communication between the recruiters and service providers, helping reduce barriers and improving the candidate experience. The success of the Houston pilot prompted Union Pacific to expand this model to additional markets nationwide, demonstrating that second chance hiring strengthens talent pipelines, improves hiring efficiency, and creates meaningful opportunities for individuals ready to re-enter the workforce. Dave's Killer Bread is one of the strongest examples of a business truly committed to second chance hiring. Nearly 1/3 of the employees in its Oregon bakery have a criminal background, a practice rooted in founder Dave Dahl's own re-entry experience. This culture of fair chance hiring is supported by in-house initiatives like the Second Chance Project, a storytelling platform built by incarcerated coders to reduce stigma and highlight the transformative power of employment. The outcomes speak for themselves. Employees with records have shown exceptional loyalty, reliability, and long-term advancement, helping fuel the company's rapid growth. The lesson for other businesses is clear. When companies open the door to people with conviction histories, they tap into an overlooked talent pool and gain highly committed team members, especially when they pair fair chance hiring with strong workplace support and community partnerships. Now it's time for you to put it all together. Many resources for building your own second chance hiring initiatives have been discussed in this webinar. We have included these and some additional ones in the resources section of this course. Thank you for your participation today. We hope this webinar has helped to educate you on the importance and feasibility of second chance hiring initiatives. Feel free to reach out to us at the contact information on the screen or within your course.